I was just selling furniture, and I had many stores around the United States. It was a very successful business. But I started to feel like there was a gap in my life, or a void in my life, like there was a spiritual bankruptcy, some people say. And I started to search for other things to do, a way to fulfill my life more. And one of those things was I wanted to just take an adventure, just get rid of everything, sell everything. Well, my name is Kim Strubell, and I'm the founder of Charity Seeds. And I want to introduce myself and Charity Seeds by telling a story of how all this started. I was going out in Victoria Lake, the second largest lake in the world, a beautiful lake on the west side of Kenya. And I was on the lake, and there was boats sitting there, and I was going to go out and see the hippos. And I got about 50 yards, and I looked over and I saw some children swimming in the lake. And they were splashing and playing, and I just was drawn to them. And so I told the guy, I was the only guy in the boat, and I asked him, turn around. I'd rather visit these children. I turned around and I saw the kids were swimming, and I went and I bought 10 loaves of bread. There were maybe a dozen boys there. And I brought the loaves of bread towards them, and they jumped out of the water, coming at me. And I held the bread to them, and I gave them the bread. And it was such an incredible experience. And I told them I wanted to know about them. I wanted to follow them during the day. They agreed, and they took me to where they went in the afternoon. They took me to a park, and we went to the park, and there were hundreds of these street boys there. And the street boys they're mavericks, they're wild. They jump on backs of trucks and swing with one hand and one leg, and they'll fake each other out with the other boys and jump off the truck as the other kid's not looking, and he keeps going. And it was a world that I actually envied. I loved their freedom. They weren't going to school, they weren't working, they were stealing food. And it was an interesting thing to see. So I wanted to find out more. I wanted to learn more about their life and why they're making these choices. And I asked them where'd they sleep. It was a junkyard. That's where they went for food if they didn't get enough food during the day. And I'm climbing up this huge pile of garbage. And then the street boys started to come out from where they lived. They were living under plastic bags in cardboard boxes. And they're coming out, and they had cans that they were eating out of and scooping the extra food that was in a can and feeding themselves. I started to look at areas of sustainability, and I thought that small-scale farming would be a very effective way to help people in need. And Kenya is a place that I looked at because I knew that 60% of the people there were going hungry. And it might be an area that I could help. And something I always had to keep in mind was it had to be sustainable. It had to function on its own in a closed system. You don't have to bring in outside inputs to make this system work. John Jevons also had a program going in Kenya, and it was called the Kenya Initiative, where he decided that he's going to start training people in Africa to learn biointensive organic farming. And one thing that they can do immediately is start to save their own seeds, so they don't have to buy seeds every year. So I started studying his project, and then I realized he had a wonderful program going for training people. He was training Africans how to grow organic food. And it was a 2-year program, and I studied that, and I realized one thing. When they came out of school, they had more enthusiasm. They wanted to go out and teach people how to do farming rather than just grow their own food in their small farm. So they had 200 trainers sitting there ready to go out and teach. And I called John Jevons and I said, John, you got a wonderful method going over there, but I realized something. They want to go teach and they only have a few dollars to go do it. So I want to help. And I offered to help John Jevons, and I created Charity Seeds to create a method of funding farmers. Every morning I'd wake up real early, and I'd get up about 5 in the morning and look out my window, and there was the organic garden that they were growing. And there was this one girl always there at 5 in the morning, and they have a tool. It's called the jumba. It's an African hoe. That's all they need to feed themselves forever. And she's out there at 5 in the morning with her jumba, swinging that thing and creating new gardens. And that was what created the hope for me because she had nothing when she came to learn about this process. And now with a simple hoe and the knowledge of saving her own seeds and growing her own soil and saving water, she can feed herself forever with no outside input. The girls will start one school, they'll start a second school, a third school, a fourth school, and it creates an enterprise for them where they have an agreement with the headmaster that they can keep some of the vegetables. And they could sell these vegetables or trade the vegetables. So not only are the girls empowering the whole community, they're starting to empower the community with a way to make money. They have the opportunity now to feed the children when there's no food available. And 40% of the children miss school because they're hungry. They have no food. So we have the opportunity with an organic garden at the school to fill that gap. The children, when they are hungry, make a choice. Do I go to school or do I stay home and work in the quarries? Do I stay home and work on the streets? And this choice now is available to the children if their bellies are full, that they can go to school instead.